right, so how are we starting this thing? This is something new, something we've never done before. We are just going to sit down and we're going to talk about the 2025 test calendar. And before we start anything, we should mention Tire Racks' first tire test was in 1995. This is 2025. Wow. What does that mean? 30th anniversary. So for 31 years, because if it's the 30th anniversary, 31 years, we have been testing tires, finding the right tire for how, where, what you drive, fair, unbiased, completely impartial testing.
I was 10 when we started doing this. I didn't participate, but I was 10.
I was 2, depending on what month in 1995 it was. But yeah, so we have evolved a lot over the years. And starting 2 years ago, we have moved to essentially a single test vehicle for each segment and 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 plus specs per test. So we give these huge test groups comparing basically everything.
Which was a big departure
right.
from how we had done it for decades before that.
Literally decades. Yeah. That's not even hyperbole or exaggerating.
No. Look at me. I'm not even exaggerating.
Right? You are, yeah.
Yeah, but it's important. It's a big change. I know we put a lot of thought and time into it. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. You're really happy. I'm going to speak for you.
You know I'm really happy.
It's been fantastic to test that many specs. Now we can compare more specs directly, which is something we always lamented. That we couldn't. We had to do very, very carefully. But now, we can compare absolute numbers, subjective and objective, which is awesome.
And for 2025, test 1 is an EV-focused test. It's an EV segment. Some of the tires in the test are real deal, manufactured from the very beginning as EV tires. Some are EV ready, EV capable, have some kind of branding on the sidewall, and some are, just tires. Just tires, which in reality, all tires are just tires. And that's what our testing continually demonstrates.
Yeah.
EVs, the EV segment is the only segment that we have 2 vehicles, identical Tesla Model 3 performances, and that is for our range testing, right, or our consumption testing, as we like to call it. And why don't you talk about why do we have to have 2? What do we do?
We have to have 2 simply because energy testing, consumption testing has proven to be very difficult, very condition dependent.
Yes.
The wind, the humidity, sun load, traffic. Sometimes it's painful that we tell people consumption testing, because we have to be so disciplined in our distance, in our throttle application.
Or lack thereof, for that matter.
Exactly. Unfortunately, we are those guys that are sometimes in the left lane a little longer than they should be.
Try to avoid it, but
As a car guy, everything in your being's like, oh my God, I got to mash the throttle and get around this car. But you can't, because that affects things. So we need 2 cars, so each of those tires experiences the exact same thing with the identical cars, 1 control tire that is then run against every single spec. That control in the experiment
it allows us to adjust for the day, because some days the control tire uses 272 watt hours per mile. Like, that is the most common number that we see, and it is pretty consistent actually.
Exactly.
But there are swings. Some days it's today was a high consumption day. I used 283, or today was a really good day. The control only used 265. And so you can't just use a single vehicle and test one day. We're test tire A and then B and then C. It doesn't work that way, because there are so many swings. So you have to adjust everything based on the control.
But that's the range. There's not a massive range that we've found with that control tire. So we need to, even more so, we need to make sure that we are very precise in
similar conditions. That is the range. When it drops down to 40 degrees, we see a huge drop. But in kind of normal springy, summery, 50 to 80 type temperatures, that is, that's the range.
And that's the best way we've found to do it so far. If we could open up the Tesla and really just measure every joule that comes from the battery, that would be sweet. But until we have unfettered access to
until
Tesla,
we can crack the code of the Tesla, this is what we use. We use Tesla reported information. We use best practices, and we have this really long, extensive check sheet of all the things that we have to go down and check and make sure that both vehicles are identical. And like you said, we have to make sure we drive the same way.
Against each other
we make sure that both Teslas are identical. We do that before the season starts, just to make sure that there's nothing that's impacting those results in a way that we don't know. Let's talk about the Teslas themselves. You were an earlier believer in the Tesla, the EV driving experience than I was. I was a bit reluctant, believe it or not. But
he's an analog man. And
yes, always, all aspects
it,
of life. But man, I like it. I like them a lot. I mean, they win me over with track use. The Model 3 Performance has huge power, obviously, not nearly enough tire. It uses a 235 section width tire.
But that's fun.
And it's fun. It is. We talk about this. We're like, man, if we could throw some 295s on this thing, really lock it down. But it would be too serious, I think, if you put, huge rubber and gave it big grip. It is comically fun, especially on like a low grip touring tire.
Yeah.
It is sideways anytime you want it to be. It is under deceleration, under throttle. You can make it do whatever you want.
It's like a rally car, and especially wet with a lower grip tire.
Or winter testing.
It's a lot of lift, weight transfer, power on. Like there are some, like in our 180, sometimes I feel like it's quicker to drift through it.
Right, yeah, you just kind of
line
pirouette
up the car
around
and hammer
the front.
it. Yeah, and you just launch right out of the 180. So it's
stupid easy to do.
But I love the EVs on the street too, though. I mean, it's weird, but I like the lack of transmission or the lack of shifting. Everything is just so smooth and seamless, and like you said, there's just plenty of torque. I think the 1-foot driving is fantastic.
Sometimes it throws me off a little bit. I'm maybe a little stuck in my ways, and
it does take a second, especially sometimes if we're on our road rides and we're coming up to a stop sign. You'll instinctively just lift.
Because I want to coast.
Right.
Let me coast.
Yeah. Well, it's not coast. It's like 30% brake at that point. Yeah. So you do kind of have to train yourself. Even, especially on track, if you don't have regen turned completely off, you don't lift. You just breathe the throttle. Right. Yeah. Which is a learned behavior, but
I'm not good at learning.
There. You'll get
one day.
Yeah.
One day.
I mean, I do it too.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, so we can talk about the testing. There are 11 specs in this test that we are talking about, but really there are 13 specs in this test, because like we said earlier, we use a control tire for every segment. And for the EV, it's the Michelin Pilot Sport All Season 4. Yep. Much like we said we use a control tire when we're range testing, which for that it's the original equipment Continental tire, the Pro Contact RX. So those tires are always being tested in the background along with everything else. But we tested the PSAS 4, Pilot Sport All Season 4. We did that last year. We don't need to give it any special treatment just because it is our control tire. So this time it's not going to be one of the published tires, but it is always there in the background.
And it's there because we need to use it to reference the objective results, the objective test metrics, and subjective. We always go back to it and we kind of recalibrate our hands, our minds, our butts, and say, okay, this is our center point. Everything is kind of based off this.
Right. It's like a level set. And just like we said with the control tire, where it's like, it's normally 272, but today's a high consumption day. We can see a little bit of that in our objective testing too. Yeah. It's like, normally it stops in, I can't even remember, 123 feet, I think is, close to the number from 60 to 0 in the wet. Ooh, today it's a 127 foot day. Everything's a little bit long today based on who knows what. Right. But that helps us, again, like you said, it's our center point. It helps us align. So there's that tire, the Pro Contact that, like I said, we use that as the control tire for range. Let's see, we've got the Extreme Contact Sport 02, Continental tire, Max Performance Summer, no EV focus whatsoever, really, right? The DWS 06 Plus, which is one of those that even though we had, whatever it was, 9 tires in our test last year, everybody always wants something that they don't see. So that was one of the big ones that people asked.
Is it old now?
Yeah,
06 Plus?
At this point,
oldish.
Yeah,
let's get in there.
It's old. I mean, in the world of tires, there have been like 3 or 4 big launches since that one came out. But yeah, so everybody wanted that one. That was the most common question. That one and the Cross Climate 2. So DWS 06 Plus and Cross Climate 2 are included in this test because viewers asked for them. Right. So we do listen. We do take these things into consideration. So absolutely, if you want to see something, leave us a comment and yell at us about it. Yeah, and we try to do it.
Most of the time we know about it and we've thought about it, but sometimes we're like, oh yeah, that was a good idea. Yeah,
you're right.
It's like, I was totally going to include that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Let's see. What else are we testing? The Falcon Azenis FK460AS Silent Core. Go ahead. What
We
were you
have
about to say?
actual ground-up EV tires too.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. What are
I'm
those?
excited about that.
One?
Michelin.
Yes. You're skipping. We're going
not
quasi alphabetically. You're right. We are, like we said, impartial, unbiased. Don't give any manufacturer any kind of preferential treatment. However, when the company of Michelin focuses all their energy to make something that is specifically for a given segment, that is, supposed to be the newest, latest, and greatest, and it uses, all of the technology that they have, that's always something exciting.
Yeah.
And
well, we can be excited
all
for
season.
it.
Yeah.
If anything, kind of puts them at a disadvantage because we have expectations like this.
We do not have expectations when we're testing. It does not influence.
We have high expectations for all of our tires that we test. Yeah. But it's definitely like, okay, here we go, e-primacy all season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we don't want to scoop anything, but so far so good.
Pretty good on the road.
Yeah.
Pretty efficient too. Yeah. So that's a ground up, EV tire. Kuma Majesty 9 Solus TA91 EV.
Yes.
K silent in
Yeah.
parentheses. That is another ground up.
Our spreadsheet because of that tire. The name is so long.
Wouldn't fit in the column.
Yeah. I'd add another inch to my
that's,
spreadsheet.
That's another request. If we could just go back to simple names, that would be amazing.
Like the PS72.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. How about that? Yeah. But anyway, Majesty 9 Solus TA91 EVK Silent. We are not 100% certain exactly how different it is from its non-EV counterpart, the Majesty 9 Solus TA91.
We know at least one thing that's different.
It's got foam.
Foam.
Yeah. And it has a different compound. We know that.
You're right. Yes, that was confirmed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was confirmed. Mm-hmm. So, but man, it also is doing well. Again, no scooping. But that's also a.
You still have to watch the test.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
But
read the report, watch the video.
It's solid.
All that, yep. Extra Sport, which is new, PS72. It's ultra high performance summer tire. Extra Sport All Season, which is an ultra high performance all season tire. Both of those just say EV compatible, or actually they don't even say that. They've got the little lightning bolt on the sidewall with EV, so they're EV ready. The original equipment Hankook or ultra high performance summer tire.
Yep. EV Tesla OE.
Yes, absolutely. P0 All Season Plus Elect from Pirelli, which the standard P0 AS Plus 3 that won our UHPL season tire test last year. So it's pretty cool that they have now an Elect version that has foam in it and probably an updated compound, but they haven't confirmed that. And something that I'm very, very excited about, Michelin XI Snow. We live in the Midwest. We get a lot of lake effect snow. And we fully believe in the two-tire system. All season or summer, I run summer tires in the summer because, and somebody runs all season tires in the summer. And then winter tires in the winter because that gives you the best possible traction, the most safety in all scenarios.
All scenarios?
All scenarios. If you're using, whatever, shoulder season, we don't need to talk about shoulder seasons.
You can do a three-tire solution where you truly have the best traction for every single scenario. You may be changing them every other day here in the Midwest, but if you're really serious about it, three-tire solution.
I hate to say it, but you're not wrong.
Don't do that.
You're
It's
obnoxious,
a lot of work.
but you're not wrong. Yeah. But anyway, so we have included an XI Snow, Michelin XI Snow, studless ice and snow winter tire in this test.
Which is an excellent, proven tire already.
Yes.
It's great.
Yeah, and we have tested it for consumption, for efficiency, multiple times, not just in this test. And we're going to spoil this one.
Yeah.
It has matched the OE tire every time we've tested it for efficiency.
Which I didn't call. It's a winter tire, it's broken up, it's just sipes, full depth sipes everywhere. How can this be efficient?
It's got all this movement as you're driving.
To show, I am clearly not a tire engineer.
Nor I.
So there's smarter people than me that have developed this tire. Or maybe they just got lucky. It matched the OE. Maybe done a little bit better.
Yeah, sometimes. It has been, a little bit better. Yeah.
In efficiency, which is, I love that. I love being surprised. You know, we've done this for so long.
Right.
I love those little things where it's like, wow, that's cool.
I did not expect that. Yeah. And there's kind of the perception out there that, oh, they're terribly inefficient. As soon as you switch to your winter tires, you're going to lose all this range, yada, yada. And that's not true. A lot of times you do lose range at that time, but it's because the temperature is dropping at the same time.
HVAC's working overtime, all the things.
Yep. And that is absolutely a bigger contributor to it than any change in tires that we've ever found. Anyway, all right, so that's test 1. Superb. Test 2, 2025. Touring tire test. This is a test that we are going to continually, well, all the tests we're going to continually add, but we've already started in 2024. We had 2 touring tire tests, and so we have the tires that we test in each one, and then we add them together. So we've got this huge cumulative running list, and this one is going to further add to that. So we're going to have 30 plus tires that our lovely editors get to create charts for our videos. Thanks, y'all. Anyway, so be on the lookout for that. It's, sure, that's not really super exciting, but I actually get excited about that because this is something that people have wanted for a long, long time.
Us included.
To be able to, us, we are people. I are people.
Many people above us in the enterprise as well.
Absolutely.
Which we understand.
Yes.
I mean, we can finally do it, which is awesome.
Right, which is cool. And one of the things that allows us to do it is our Toyota Camry, our handy dandy people mover. So previously, before we switched to this very specific vehicle per segment, when we were testing touring tires, we were using the same car vehicle test platform that we were testing performance tires on. And yes, we got the feel, we learned what the tires did, no problem. But then when people saw it, when they read the report, when they watched the video, it's like, man, I'm not driving a BMW 4 Series or a Subaru BRZ every day on the street on my standard touring all-season tires. So now we have a vehicle that very much fits what people expect in the segment.
And like you said, we had to be very cognizant of our vehicle choice. And a lot of times it was we test drove them. We confirmed.
Yeah,
it made our jobs a lot harder, especially with the BRZs on the touring tires, because they were so transparent. They were pretty stiff, small little cars. We did it, but it was more difficult for us.
Right. And something that you just said reminded me of something that I wanted to mention. Choosing the test vehicles, we chose them. We did the research. We did the legwork. Of course, we had to get approval from the higher-ups just to make sure, but it was a long and arduous process. We first off had to make sure that whatever vehicle we chose used our test sizes. Like that, we selected the vehicles way backward from what people normally do because we started with the tire. We said, this is the tire size we need to use. What vehicles fit this? And then from there, they had to be appropriate for the segment. We had to make sure that they could withstand the abuse of our testing. And we ended up with this 2025 Toyota Camry hybrid, and it's a surprisingly good vehicle to drive the way we use it. I
hadn't done a lot of testing on Camrys before we got ours. I know it's a pretty standard
it's common
vehicle
in the industry, right?
I understand why now, especially with ours. You don't have to do the pedal dance anymore where you're hitting the brake 3 times, doing electronic brake, turn off, and all this stuff. A long press of the traction control button completely mostly defeats the traction control. But it's still a front-wheel drive hybrid, not meant for performance. But
it's not bad.
It's pretty cool. It's all right. It's been a great vehicle. I mean, and like you said, it's the right vehicle for a touring tire test.
Yes, of course it is. Yep. So speaking of touring tire tests, let's talk about test 2, the products in it. We have 4 brand new untested products, and they have all been announced as of this filming, so we can talk about them. So we tend to build our test groups around new products that have been launched. We definitely want to test those, and then we fill it in with existing benchmark tires in the segment. So we have the Hankook WeatherFlex GT, which is an all-weather product. It's all season with the 3-Peak Mountain Snowflake brand. It is the successor to a product that we liked very much. It didn't really end up in our lineup. It kind of came and went and all that kind of stuff that we don't really need to worry about. But we're really excited about this one because it is a follow-up to a product that we liked a lot. The Kumo Solus 4S HA32, another all-weather tire. You're going to see a lot of those in this test. The Nokian Encompass AW02. Nokian, of course, has a huge name within.
They're the first brand I remember hearing use the term all-weather, too. Right. As a kid growing up, I was like, all-weather, yeah.
Yeah, what does this mean? Yep. So
they have a pedigree in the all-weather space.
Mm-hmm. And then Radar Dymax all-weather. Wouldn't you know it? Another all-weather tire. So those are the 4 new products that we're testing. We have the BF Goodrich Advantage Control, Cooper Endeavor, Falcon Acclimate, which that's another all-weather, Firestone Weather Grip, which is a very strong in the snow winter product or all-weather product. I'm kind of excited. It is, if you are looking for a benchmark for kind of the best light snow traction in the still all-season or all-weather space, that's it. So I'm excited to see how these new products stack up against that, in this area. Then the Sumitomo HTR Enhance LX2, a tire that admittedly I don't think about all that often, but it actually sells really, really well. Sure. So it's important that we keep it on our radar and everybody else's radar, and we figure out how it performs compared to everything else in the marketplace. Then the Toyo Celsius 2, that's the final all-weather product in this test, and the Yokohama Avid Ascend GT, which
arguably an oldie but goodie also.
It is an oldie but goodie, right? Yeah.
A solid tire, very good in the wet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also one that I admittedly don't think about all that often, but that's much to my chagrin. It's I'm worse off for it because it's a good quality product that we've used as a benchmark tire many times in the past. Yeah,
this is what you can do for a solid touring tire, typically at a pretty good price.
Yep. And our control tire for this group is the Michelin Defender 2.
Right.
All of our touring tests, we are running a Defender 2 in the background to use it as the benchmark, as the standard. We included it in 2 of our test videos last year. It's going to be included or talked about in one of our future test videos this year. So for Test 2, you're not actually going to see it in the results,
it's
but
in the background.
It is
hiding,
run.
It's lurking.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep.
And so that's it for Test 2. Test 3, performance. It's a performance tire test, so we have ultra high performance summer and we have max performance summer, which technically those 2 categories are different. They have slightly different focuses. Ooh. Yeah, absolutely.
Watch out.
But out there in the real world, outside of tire rack land where we have these conveniently defined performance categories, people are absolutely cross-shopping these things. Yeah. And we, of course, try to educate and inform, but we are not going to stick our heads in the sand and say, oh, no, we can't compare these 2 because this one's UHP and this one's MP. Like, we just, we don't want to do that. So we have a mix of both in this test. And it's an M2 test. I love M2 tests. We searched high and low for this M2. I think it ended up coming out of New York at the time because it was brand new to the market when we decided that yes, this is the vehicle for us for our top tier or top level performance tire testing. And my requirement was that it had to be Santavorte blue. The baby blue color.
I was indifferent.
You can blame me for that if you hate that color. Write to me. But it's what Brent at TireRack.com is I think how you'd get a hold of me. So the M2, I love using it to test. It is good on the street. It's firm. It's a little bit loud, but that's the way the tires in this segment skew, so it's really, really okay. Street driving, it feels a little bit large for me. It feels a little big. I'm a small car kind of guy, and the M2 feels a little big. As soon as you get it on the track and you start pushing it, it feels like it does the cliched thing of shrinking around you. Like I know exactly where the corners are. I know exactly where the front and the rear of the vehicle are, and it just feels smaller when you really start pushing it.
Some cars we get out there and it's like, wow, I hit that cone. Like, are you sure?
Really? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't have.
But the M2, you know exactly where it is. You know exactly when you're going to hit the cone.
Yeah, right. And you do it anyway because it's fun.
But if you do it right, you're absolutely right. You can put that thing where you want it every single time. Even on some of these tires that we are going to push. Some of these UHP summer tires are going to get worked in this test.
Yep.
So I'm excited for that. There's going to be a lot of black marks on that track.
Right.
That car, the M2 and the Tesla, just lay rubber down.
They really,
but
really
the M2 specifically, and we are just on point with our driving every single time.
Most of the time.
Yeah, we paint some of the corners in that thing. It's fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this test, there are tires that we're going to talk about? There's 12 tires in this test. There's one, however, okay, this is something we need to talk about. There's one tire that's on the market. We don't have it yet, though. It's not it. Our test size was a later production, it was in the second phase or third phase or whatever, and it's not here. And this is a good time to talk about our standards for testing. And it does not make our jobs easier by any means, but it preserves the purity of our testing.
Yep.
And that is, we have to pull our test tires from our in-stock inventory. They have to come in on a regular, normal PO. A manufacturer cannot FedEx or UPS or cannot directly ship us 4 tires for testing. We will not accept that. We want our testing to be absolutely representative of what everybody is going to experience with their tires. Yep. So we will not do that. And because of that, we are now, 4 weeks away from test 3, and we don't know if we're going to get one of the tires in the test. Let's talk about the tires that are in this test, things we can talk about. BF Goodrich G-Force Phenom TA.
It's going to be phenomenal.
And you were going to say that while we're testing it.
I'm going to say it so much they can't cut it out.
Right. We're getting a lot of questions through social media about Phenom TA, G-Force Phenom TA, right? It's a brand new UHP summer tire from BF Goodrich, right? Yeah, I mean, the G-Force Sport Comp 2 was on the market for, 70 years or something like that.
At least 100.
And they are replacing it. Yeah. And it's a total, it's divergence from where the previous product was. It's asymmetric, where the other was directional. It's still focused on the tuner crowd, which is really cool. And it's whether it's Europe or Asia or America, they have the popular OE and aftermarket fitments. They focused on those tuner fitments
selection. While it's not completely released in every size
not yet.
Yes, guys, we know they are going to come in wider sizes for your muscle cars. They're coming.
Yep.
But the final lineup with all phase delivery is going to be pretty good.
Yeah,
it's going to be wide.
It's going to be great. And in just a little bit after this video is published, we're going to find out how it stacks up against the competition. Let's see, other new tire. Goodyear Eagle F1 Asymmetric 6.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's been around in Europe for a while. It has
well
been tested. Yep, absolutely. It does really well over there. It's another tire that we get questions about. Last year's test, one of the first YouTube comments was, no Eagle F1 Asymmetric 6. And so, well, it's not available in the United States. So we would if we could, but now it is. It's here. And so we're including it. And
Thanks,
like you said, it tests really well other places. So excited to test it.
I am excited.
Yes. Next, Extra Sport S. Kumo Extra Sport S.
Slow down.
I know, right? That's the third tire, third Kumo tire in 3 tests. Actually, it's the fourth because there's the Solus 4 SHA32. Yeah, fourth Kumo tire in 3 tests. So test 1, the Tesla test that we are running right now, has the Kumo Extra Sport. This test has the Kumo Extra Sport S.
What's the difference, Steve?
I hoped you would ask me that. The Sport S comes in more supercar sizing, comes in bigger sizes. Okay. It focuses a little bit more on the traditional performance aspect of it. Dry traction is one of the things. Wet braking is one of the things that they say is an improvement. Maybe rides a little bit firmer, as they say.
Yep.
But it's going to be cool because Extra Sport tested very well, and this one should just kind of turn it up a notch. So
just got back from the launch actually on all 3 of those tires,
right, yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of testing or mocked up testing.
Sure.
It was a launch event, but got a little preview, and I'm excited to see how it does.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous because I've never driven it. So
I think I was on a GT4 RS gutted. I had a yoke. at one point.
I'm a Cayman guy,
It's
so
all a blur.
he's rubbing it in right now. Is what's happening.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
you should have been there.
Yeah, I should have been. I think I was flitting off doing something else. Okay, other new tires. The Toyo Proxys Sport 2. Mm-hmm. We should talk about this one. Mm-hmm. The first Proxys Sport, we originally placed that tire in the Max Performance Summer category. We tested it against the competitive set, and it didn't deliver. Yes. And we bumped it down to UHP Summer. And This is not, insulting Toyo in any way, but regardless of what the tire manufacturer says, our performance categories are broken up based on what the consumer will experience. So if the manufacturer says this is an MT tire, maximum traction, and it performs like an all-terrain tire, or vice versa, if they say it's an all-terrain tire and it's super loud, super rough, not good on the road, but
doesn't
it's
have
great
the traction
off-road, right? Then we're going to put it in MT. And similarly, if the manufacturer says, hey, this is in your Max Performance Summer category, and we test it and it doesn't meet those expectations, we are going to bump it down. And so that's what happened with the Proxys Sport. And so with Proxys Sport 2, Toyo has sought to remedy that. They have really, according to the manufacturer anyway, they have focused in on the wet traction, the dry traction, the handling characteristics, the things that really make a real performance tire, deliver what people expect. So I am very excited about that. I'm excited for this redemption that Toyo has going on. And just patting ourselves on the back, it kind of shows how our testing makes better tires for the industry. Because we notified them of this, I'll use the word deficiency. It was a good tire. It just didn't do quite what it was promised to do, and they addressed it, and now they're making a better tire in the sequel because of it.
You're welcome.
I didn't want to go quite that far, but I'll take it. So you're welcome. Anyway, okay. The Fredestein All-Track Pro. All-Track Pro, the kinder, gentler Max Performance Summer tire. It's supposed to have, almost all of the outright performance chops of the PS4S and the Extreme Contact Sport 02, but it focuses more on comfort as well. It is the ultra refined Max Performance Summer tire.
They say we can do everything and make it comfortable.
Yep. Another fun thing that we're doing based on customer feedback, viewer feedback, is we have the replacement market Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, and we have the original equipment for our BMW Michelin Pilot Sport 4S in this test. Generally, we don't test original equipment products because there's so much tweaking of them based on the needs of the vehicle manufacturer that it's not representative of the brand or the line as a whole.
Yeah, and that's actually something that's another thing that we've had on our list to do for years. We were both in sales at one point, some points, and we would always get questions from customers like, hey, there are two tires in this same size, same brand, same model. Yeah, two, sometimes like six. And they'd be like, hey man, what's the difference? And we'd have to say, we don't know. In fact, we've asked them, we've cornered these engineers or these product planners, and we've said, hey, what do you do? Between us, what'd you do to this, BMW spec tire? Can't tell you that.
Yeah, because it's not their secret to share.
Right.
It's because the performance metrics, those specs, were set by
commissioned
BMW,
by
so it's BMW's secret. And Michelin, they made it happen, but they can't then share with anybody, even us. They can't share with what they do.
We would say traditionally the aftermarket tire typically has better performance.
Correct.
And the performance metrics that we are looking for, not necessarily what the OEM vehicle manufacturer is looking for. But that may not always be the case, and we get to actually test it this time with our BMW OE spec on that BMW against a pure aftermarket tire. So we can at least answer some questions, and that's going to be awesome.
Yep, I agree. And plus, it was something that, again, we had 9 tires in the last test, and one of the first comments on YouTube is, why didn't you test the OE BMW tires? Right. We try, we do our best, but so that should hopefully will satisfy a lot of desires out there in the market
at least
as well.
That one guy.
Yeah, that one guy or person, that one viewer. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, other specs in this test. Extreme Contact Sport 02 from Continental. Yep. It won last year's test.
Solid benchmark.
Have to include it, always, always, always. The Falcon Azenis FK510. We tested this, I can't even remember what platform. I think we tested this on the old 4 Series.
It was.
So it was...
bought a set at the.
I did buy a set. I had a set on my E39 5 Series. Yeah, because it's a good tire. It's a good tire, and it was it was like a spare car, and so I wasn't going to put something like really pricey on it, and so but it was a great car. Let's see what else. So PS4S. Nitto NT555 G2. Say
triple nickel?
The triple nickel, as they call it out there, as the cool kids call it. Man, this is a tire that has been around for a long time. It is legendary out there. There have been multiple iterations of it. This is the G2 iteration. I actually had NT555 Extremes on my old Cayman old Boxster way back in the day.
That explains
it was before I ever worked here. I'm not even going to tell you where I acquired them. It's been around for a long time. So like I said, this is the newest iteration of that tire. And then the last tire in the test is the Sumitomo HTR Z5, which is another tire that we don't think about often enough. We don't give enough credit to. So it'll be good to, again, put it in the bigger hierarchy to show, hey, should this tire be a part of the conversation, a bigger part of the conversation?
Right. Yeah.
Or is it? And also ran, and we'll find out. Speaking of M2 tests, test 4. My favorite test of the year. I like to think our enthusiast customers' favorite test of the year. I hope it's your favorite test of the year. Extreme Performance Summer, 200 treadwear stuff.
It's pretty awesome.
Sub 200 treadwear stuff. Yes. This year.
Sub 200 and beyond.
And beyond, as they say. Yes, that's absolutely something that we can talk about it. We can talk about it, but we'll get to it. Don't worry. Anyway, so this test this year, I was ambitious when designing it. We were ambitious
on every test.
We were ambitious when designing this test.
What if 30 specs?
Perfect. Okay, not 30. What about 13? Yes.
Fine.
This test is complicated because it's broken up into multiple sections. And this is, again, to satisfy requests that we've had from consumers. So our normal test size on the M2 is 275, 35, 19. Okay, great size. Almost every tire comes in that size.
Best.
Almost every Extreme Performance Summer tire comes in that size. Right. But there are like 4 that don't come in that size. The Extreme Contact Force from Continental, the Goodyear Eagle F1 Supercar 3, the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 240. Those 3 tires are not available in our 275, 35, 19 test size.
Right.
So we also have a 275, 35, 18 component to this test. And then there's a track-only component, which is also 275, 35, 18. But let's talk about the main test, the 275, 35, 19.
Right.
That's what we are going to test here at Tire Rack. We will do our road rides. We will do wet track testing. We will do dry track testing. We will also test those up at our local racetrack. 4 prongs of attack for that portion of the test, and that is like the bulk of the test. And so let's talk about the tires that we are testing that. The first one we actually can't talk about. It is a brand new, not yet released, endurance-focused product from one of the big storied manufacturers in the space. You are going to see it in the test, but as of right now, it hasn't been announced, so we can't talk about it. So the next spec, BF Goodrich GeForce Rival S 1.5. This is the updated, faster steering response version of the Rival S. BF Goodrich changed the internal construction to give it better handling characteristics or better steering responsiveness. At this point, that tire has been on the market for quite a while, but it's been a long time since we've tested it. We've never tested it on the M2, so it's something that we need to get in there.
Yep.
Potenza RE71 RS from Bridgestone. Tell the nice folks about that tire, Brent.
It holds a special place in our heart. We almost didn't get it.
That's very true.
Luckily, we had some persistent people at Bridgestone that made it happen.
Thank you, friends at Bridgestone.
Yeah, no, seriously, because it is a standard. It is
right. Right. It can autocross.
One of the
it can
benchmarks.
track day.
Yeah.
It can endurance race. My endurance racing team
Yeah.
used it on our car. Right. We get 9-10 hours out of it with good driving and a proper setup. It can do it all, and it's one of the big names in the category. Next tire, new product. Falcon Azenis RT660 Plus. I feel like if you're watching this, you probably, yeah, look, there's one right there. You probably know the story behind this tire, but just in case, Falken has updated the internal construction a little bit to make it a little bit friendlier at the limit, control the contact patch a little better dynamically. We've done a little bit of preview driving on this, and we found that there are definitely some places where it's better than its predecessor. We will find out, because the Zenus RT 660, the current product, was really close to that like top group of fast tires in this space, but not quite. It's just a little bit off. So we're going to find out if a small improvement to that tire is enough to put the new one.
It may just need that small improvement. That may be just what it needs.
Right?
It's going to be tight.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm excited too.
Me too. Yeah, we're going to find out. Nankang Sportneck CRS, kind of a newish tire to our lineup. It's the V2 version, in case anybody wants to know. We only carry the V2. We've never had the original version. You're not going to get a V1 from Tire Rack. But it has performed incredibly well in our testing too, both on our track, which is kind of like an autocross, and up at the local road course, as we've been calling it. It has done incredibly well. It has been fast. It's been consistent. Not good, not great in the wet though. But yeah,
no. But yeah, no. I remember hitting a complex, a long sweeper fast complex up there, left-hander before you kind of dive down. But I just remember. It's like,
was there a bird involved? Did we hit a bird in that corner?
Yeah, we did. Not in that tire though. But yeah, I just remember that thing is just its ultimate lateral traction is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be fun. I think it had not the fastest single lap last year at.
Oh, you're right.
At the track, but it had the fastest average lap, which that's what we publish is the average lap. Yeah. So we kind of eliminates any potential flyers or whatever the case may be. But we're excited to see that one up there. Another new exciting tire, the controversial tire, the one, the only, the Vitur Tempesta P1. Yes, it's in the Tire Rack lineup now. It made the jump from anyway. To our lineup, and it's in the test. We are going to find out. There's so much anecdotal information out there. There are a couple of official tests from trusted sources, but we're going to put it through our testing. We're going to see in all aspects. And one thing that there is no official testing on public out there is wet. That is still a huge unknown for this tire, and we're going to find out how it does.
If you're the fastest in the dry in this category, extreme performance, how important is wet? I want both. If I can have both, I want both.
Right. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but they're I mean, people race in the rain.
How much
track
quicker
days and all
does
that
it need
happens.
to be?
To be like, we don't care about wet?
Yeah.
I'm not putting a number on that. You can't corner me, Brent. Depends on what your usage case is. I mean, there's a market for things like, I don't know, the Hoosier R7, and
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine in no standing water whatsoever. It has good damp traction, but anything, and how often is there no standing water whatsoever?
Okay. So 5%, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yes, exactly. That's the number. And the last in this, bulk of the test is the Advan A052. Yokohama Advan A052, as we like to call it, as the cool kids call it.
Yep.
Of course, no 200 treadwear test would be complete without that one. So that's it. Okay, so then moving on to the 275/35/18 tires.
A little short.
Yes, an inch shorter than our normal test size. It is not a Tire Rack approved size. It's a track only fitment for us in our world. So like you were saying, we are going to test it in dry and wet only here. It's not going on our road ride portion of our testing because we do not say that you should use this on the road. And then they're going to be tested up at Gingerman as well. We are including the Potenza RE71 RS in this 18-inch size as well.
Because it belongs.
So it does. It absolutely does. It is a benchmark. It is one of the things that everybody wants to compare to. And if you are feeling extra froggy, maybe you can kind of look sideways and compare and get like the 18-inch to 19-inch comparison.
Yep.
We're not going to do that publicly, but it's nice to have a common tire amongst the two groups so you can kind of compare them. Extreme contact force. Right? Tell me about the extreme contact force.
Much force.
Much extreme
contact.
And contacts, yes.
I mean, it is a fast, endurance-focused extreme performance summer tire. Mm-hmm. Why it doesn't come in 275 with a 3519, I don't know.
No idea.
It doesn't. So we're going to test it in 265. That's fine.
No, 275/35/18.
So We're going to test it. It has been historically pretty quick for us. It's a good tire to drive.
We love the steering.
Yeah,
we love the steering.
Very good tire to drive.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Goodyear Eagle F1 Supercar 3 also is going to be in this 18-inch test group. It won one lap of America last year, right?
It did.
The Supercar 3 was the tire that was on the winning vehicle.
A couple of very good drivers, too.
Of course, yeah. You have to be a good driver
Turbo.
to win one lap of America, yeah. Then Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2, 240. Sport Cup 2 is another tire that everybody wants to see tested.
Yep.
It's not available, at least not in a non-OE application.
Right.
It's not available in our 19-inch test size. So it's going to be in the 18.
Who wants to know the Cup 2 240?
People want to know. Well, usually people just say Cup 2, so I'm not sure whether they're talking about the 180 or the 240.
Specify people.
Right, but
it's confusing.
Anyway, okay. Then moving from 200 treadwear down to sub 200 treadwear. Again, here in the wet, in the dry, and up at the local road course, we're going to test some streetable track and competition tires.
Right.
The Hoosier Track Attack Pro. Everybody wants to know about this tire.
Yep.
We are going to run it in the same size as these Extreme Performance summer tires, so maybe you get a little bit of a comparison, but that's not the point. Isn't really to compare. It's in a different category, so we're going to compare it against the.
Why is it a different category?
Because it starts with less than 7/30 seconds of an inch. They forgot two things. 30 seconds of an inch of tread depth is what they forgot, and for whatever reason, we can speculate all we want, but Hoosier hasn't told us specifically why, but they intentionally did that, 5/30 seconds of an inch. And the performance benchmark in that space is the Goodyear Eagle F1 Supercar 3R. And we are testing it against that.
You love that tire.
I do love that tire.
Yeah,
it drives so nicely.
I like it, but you love it.
I do. I love it.
It's
so we're gonna find out how they compare. And you might not even have this on your list because I just updated it just a little bit ago. Surprise, there's going to be one more.
I see it.
Oh, do you see that? We're going to include the Hoosier A7 as well.
Woo-wee.
Because it's an autocross tire, and our track is like an autocross.
Time of track?
Time of track, yeah.
Time of track.
Right? So we're going to find the performance delta between the Track Attack Pro and the A7 in the wet and in the dry on our track. And then we're going to take them all up to the local racetrack as well. And this group is another 275, 35, 18 group. It's going to be the A7 versus R7. All these are competing against each other, but we're going to have A7 and R7. There is another brand new, as yet unannounced option that's supposed to make it in time. Hopefully it makes it in time. Then the Toyo Proxys R, which we were supposed to test last year, but through things, it didn't happen. So we're getting it this year. The Yokohama Advan A055, AO55. Yep. It's such a nice tire. It's great. It's a good tire. Yeah. It just, people just haven't seemed to have taken notice because of that big,
as fast as another tire?
Purple elephant in the room.
Yeah,
it's close. It's close. If you ignore the size on the sidewall and actually test two tires of similar real dimensions,
you're not wrong.
They're essentially right on top of one another. But the purple one comes in. Hey, this is my 275, and this is my 275. Right. So this is a Hoosier 275, and this is an everybody else 275. So it makes it a little tough when you've got that big of a disparity come over. And then fun, exciting.
I am so excited.
I am so excited for this too. Tire Rack now has access to the Michelin Motorsports products. So true non-DOT race slicks. Everything from rally to hill climb to endurance to sprint racing. All of it. We have their full lineup, and we are going to include one of those in this test. So if you want to make the leap from DOT R comps, your R7, up to full race slicks, we're going to have that.
People would come through our retail bay because we have a retail bay right on site.
Sure.
And they would bring in their track wheels. They're always center locks or something. And they would have, the Michelin slicks. And you always look at them, nice, bright Michelin logo on the sidewall, walking by like, man, that dude's so cool. Like, I wish I was that guy. I wish
is envious.
Yeah, I wish I carried that,
And now we do.
Now we finally, we can get them. That's a big step for us.
Yeah, it really, really is. Yeah, and it's something that people want to know, which is awesome, and it's going to be a fun addition to our video, if for nothing else than for the colorful sidewalls. Anyway, so that's test 4, and it's going to be a fun one. The 5th test of 2025 is a fun test. It's a specialty test. It is something that we have never done before. Much like we now have access to Michelin's full motorsports line of racing slicks, we also have access to not just Michelin, but other manufacturers' vintage tire lines or classic. Yeah, and Pirelli Collezione and Vredestein Sprint Classic and your BF Goodrich Radial TA, Cooper Cobra GT, these tires that are designed for non-current vehicles. You know, a vehicle from the 70s has a different suspension setup, has different driving characteristics, has a different feel than a modern vehicle. And you don't really want to put a modern tire on one of those vintage vehicles because it doesn't suit the characteristics. I mean, you buy that kind of vehicle to drive, right? For it is a pure driving enjoyment type vehicle. Like maybe not necessarily to the track, but
no, you're right. You drive it, you buy it to drive it. But a lot of people buy these cars. I'm thinking even earlier in the 70s for the essence. Like it is original. This is how the car came. Yes, a modern tire may last longer. It may resist punctures better. I don't know, all these modern tire things. But yeah, you buy these vintage vehicles to travel back in time. And that's the driving experience, and that's just visually.
Right. So we are in the process of borrowing a couple of vintage vehicles, and we are going to compare some of the different lines that we have access to. We won't be able to do all of them because it is actually a really, there's what, like 15, 20 more.
When they first sent that lineup of what's available, I was like,
oh, wow, who knew there were so many? Right. But it's based on, what period it's from. Like, was this a bias ply car? Was this an early radial? Was this a sports car from, the 70s or even in the 80s, right? Yeah, TRX, yeah.
Which is a funky Michelin sizing convention.
Asymmetric tire sizing. So we have access to all of those, and we are going to get, like I said, some vintage vehicles, and we're going to compare those lines to modern vehicles. And it's going to there will still be testing, there will still be evaluating, but it's going to be a more visually pleasing type video.
It's testing appropriate to the audience, to the buyer of that type of tire for their vintage vehicle. It's going to be sweet. I mean, that's some tire nerd stuff here, but and something frankly I am not very familiar with is vintage vehicles.
Right. Do we have to crank it at the front? Do we go out and put the thing in and go like this?
I mean, it's so like wire wheels and stuff. Like I guess my 70s motorcycle has wire wheels, but yeah, I don't know much about that. Like we were talking about, it's a single.
Yeah, I have a motorcycle.
Yeah, I do. I'm somewhat of a biker myself. Fellow bikers. So I mean, it's all new stuff to us. We have great contacts at all the manufacturers, but specifically Michelin, and that's going to be something cool.
Moving on, Test 6 on-road all-terrain, off-road all-terrain, rugged all-terrain.
All the terrain.
But before we start talking about all the terrains, let's talk about our big orange test vehicle. I guess it's not big. It's for me. I'm a small car guy. You may have heard that, depending on what you're watching or how long you've been watching.
Tiny.
But it's a Tacoma.
I wanted a Raptor R, but we got a Tacoma.
Brent is always the practical one of the group.
Can we jump it?
Yes. Okay. In that case, we win. So 2024 Toyota Tacoma TRD Sport. Yeah. And it has been a good
it's awesome.
test vehicle too. We've got the two Toyotas, and it has done everything that we wanted to. It also, just like the Camry, you can disable traction control. I absolutely spun it multiple times when we were doing our winter testing, so we know that it doesn't completely intervene. Apparently, there are some weird little scenarios where it will decide that it needs to jump in and
if it thinks you're going to tip over.
Right. That's it. To keep you from rolling. But other than that, it stays in the background. It doesn't do anything. It has withstood all of our braking testing, all of our wet traction handling, all that, and it's good on the road too.
It takes a pretty standard size, 265 7017. So it meshes
huge,
well.
Nothing. Basically almost every tire. Michelin LTX Platinum. Almost every tire is available in that size that we would want to test. It works out really well. And this test is going to be an all-terrain test, and we divide all-terrain into multiple segments. Right. We have on-road all-terrain, which is a bit more on-road focused with, a modicum of off-road capability, just enough to get you where you need to go sometimes. Then there's off-road all-terrain, which is more that, call it 50-50 mix or whatever of on-road.
Kind of the traditional all-terrain, from 10, 20 years back. That's kind of, yeah.
Right, absolutely. And they do start to climb up and get a little bit more aggressive, but then once you jump over a certain limit, then it's rugged all-terrain, right? Which is kind of like MT light or AT plus, or it's that gets kind of in betweener, which sometimes comes with more off-road capability. Sometimes it's an aesthetic thing, but absolutely that's a segment in the market that is
blowing up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know, right? So we are comparing all three of those categories in the same test. We did this last year for last year's all-terrain test as well, because people are cross-shopping these things, and people want to know, okay, my vehicle came with this all-terrain, the off-road all-terrain, as we would call it, tire, but I want the more aggressive look. What am I going to give up? What are the sacrifices? I don't do any kind of off-roading, but I like the look. So how much worse is my life going to be? And we absolutely answer those kinds of questions.
What price am I paying for this awesome looking tire, and perhaps for the off-road prowess? Like, how am I going to pay for this on my daily drive to work on roads?
Right, because not everybody gets a dedicated off-road vehicle that they're trailering to and from the trailhead. A lot of people, their fun car is their daily car too. So, yeah. This test, all right. So this is gonna be a little odd sounding, but even for all-terrain tests, our control tire for the Tacoma, for any Tacoma test, is highway all season. It is the Michelin Defender LTX MS2. We did that so we can compare highway tires, all-terrain tires, the whole gamut, as opposed to having a different control tire for the all-terrain stuff that then would keep those two things separate, because, again, people are cross-shopping. Yeah. If I have a highway tire and I want to switch to something a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more off-road capable, again, what are my compromises? What are my sacrifices?
Truck control tire. It's our PLT control tire. Because, like you said, it's designed to tie together all these truck tires together, whether that's highway only, or if that's any of our multiple all-trains, or even MT at some point.
Well, yeah, when we get to it, for sure. Yep. So that tire will be tested with the group, but you're not going to see it. It is behind the scenes, just because that's the way we do it. So new products. Since this test is later in the year, I really have to be careful about what we talk about, because
pitfalls.
Multiples of these on the list are not available right now. But Falcon Rubitrek AT01, that actually is not a new tire to the earth, but it is a new tire to Tire Rack. And we anticipate that it's going to be a big part of our lineup, that we're going to carry it for a long time moving forward. So we need to know how the thing performs, because that is another goal of our testing, is, yes, to provide viewers with the information, but we need to know how it performs as well. We need to know what to tell our sales reps, how this tire does, so when they get that kind of question, Tire Rack just needs to know as a whole, all the products that we carry, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, is there anything?
And our customers do a great job filling out the surveys, letting us know. But it takes a while. It takes a lot of miles. It takes a lot of effort from the customers to do that. The testing kind of gives us a sneak peek. It really lets us know early on how customers will receive this tire. So yeah, we need to be on the front end of that for sure.
Definitely. Let's see, next, another Falcon product, the Wild Peak RT01. That's a rugged all-terrain tire. That one is going to be LT. We run a 265/70/17 test tire. If the tires that we're testing are available in Eurometric or P-metric, that's what we're going to test. But some of these lines, they're LT only.
Yeah, and that's a question we get a lot. We've been getting a lot too, why is this LT but the others aren't? That's not fair. Well, yeah, it was either we include it in LT and plaster asterisks all over the place saying, that, hey, this is LT, we know, keep this in mind. Or we don't test it.
Right.
And obviously we want to test it.
We want to test it, because people want to know. Because if people are going to be buying that tire, guess what? It's going to be an LT. So that's the way it is. Okay, next tire can't talk about. Next tire can't talk about. Next tire can't talk about. Mickey Thompson Baja Boss AT. Full disclosure, I love this tire.
The Boss?
Yes. We've tested it, I believe, twice now. I think this is the third time that we're going to test it. And it was rugged all-terrain, before rugged all-terrain was a really big thing.
It was.
And it is. We originally had it classified as all-terrain because we didn't have a rugged category, and it was basically the most aggressive all-terrain tire that we had, but not quite to the level of MT, which I guess is kind of the definition of RT, right? But surprisingly good on the road, great in the snow, nice to drive. So I am
a few Mickey Thompsons we actually carry too.
Right? Yeah, that's such a specialty storied
really
brand,
cool story,
right? That we don't have a whole lot of. So it's nice to have them represented by a really strong product in our testing. But those previous tests were always with just 3 tires in the test because we only had 3 truck or SUV, test platforms. So I'm excited to see how it stands out. Or how it shakes out in the bigger group.
For sure.
Definitely. Pirelli Scorpion XTM AT, group of our team from here just went to the launch event for that. Apparently it performed pretty nicely on the small road portion and did well off-road, so we'll see how that is. The next tire we can't talk about. And then the last 2 tires are Toyos, 2 Toyos. Open Country AT3, another tire we get tons of questions about. It has been on the market for a long time.
Popular line.
One of the most popular tires out there. We're going to find out, does it live up to that reputation? And then the Open Country RT Trail, which is their rugged all-terrain, or one of their rugged all-terrain offerings. We're going to see how those 2 tires compare. What is the differentiation between their admittedly somewhat aggressive off-road all-terrain and their rugged all-terrain?
They have a lot of different tires in that space.
They do. They slice that pie.
And as a consumer, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I guess I'll take that one because you guys have it in stock. But yeah, I want to know. I want to have some hard data for why. Why do you guys have so many tires that sound similar and look similar? But it's been successful for them. So
yeah, they would stop doing it if it weren't. If it didn't work, they wouldn't keep doing
idea.
it.
Let's do it for the next 20 years.
Right? Yeah. So we'll find out how those go. All right, test 7. Touring tire test using the Camrys. And I like to tell myself that I was being benevolent and giving our team a little bit of a break toward the end of the year.
I'm sure you'll find something else
to cram in there. You may or may not have noticed that there have been a lot of specs in all of our previous tests that we've talked about today. The touring test for the end of the year has 2, 4, 6, 8. Only 8 tires in this test,
8?
Which is a relatively small test, but it is packed with quality. Apparently 2025 is the year of Tier 1 touring tire launches because there are 4 new Tier 1 touring tires that are going to be in this test, and it's going to be awesome. The problem is we can't talk about 3 of them, so we can talk about 1. We can talk about one of these new tires, and that is the Turanza Prestige from Bridgestone. Bridgestone has a great history with their Turanza lines of, ultimate on-road refinement. The Turanza Quiet Track isn't a Serenity Plus in terms of on-road refinement. That was the predecessor. That was the Turanza Serenity Plus. And Quiet Track is very, very good. It's just not quite to the level of the refinement that its predecessor was, and Turanza Prestige is supposed to fix that. It is supposed to be a return to the ultra luxury that the flagship Turanza lineup was before, I guess. So we're going to find out, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I hope it is.
It's got this big wide center rib on it, which actually is kind of unique, or it's very unique and interesting. And so looking at the tread pattern, it's an interesting tread pattern. So then the next option in this test is Continental True Contact Tour 54. We tested it last year. It was new last year. It is a standard touring all season, and we should probably talk about that. We have Grand Touring all season, and we have Standard Touring all season. They both essentially try to get to nearly the same place. They both are supposed to be super refined, great on the road, have good wet and dry and wintertime traction. The difference is Standard Touring all season compromises a little bit of those things that we just mentioned in the name of longevity.
Tread life.
Right? Tread life, absolutely. So it's fortunately the days of 100,000-mile tread life warranties are behind us. Nobody's doing that anymore. But if you want a 70, 80, 90,000-mile tire, generally those are Standard Touring all-season products. Whereas Grand Touring all-season is like 50, 60, 70. Generally they crank up, the wet traction, the wintertime traction a little bit compared to Standard Touring because that's just the nature of the trade-offs of tire manufacturing.
We know they're different. Yes, they're in the same test because customers are cross-shopping them.
Correct.
Yeah. So we need to compare them.
Yeah, nobody says, I can't have that product. That's a standard touring tire. I don't want a standard touring. I want a grand touring. So we are testing these all head to head. The Tronza Prestige, that was a grand touring all season product. True Contact Tour 54 is a standard touring all season product. Like I said, we tested it last year. It's very, very strong. Yep. Nice tire. Happy to have it back as a benchmark. Then another tire we can't talk about, which is a standard touring all season. We can say that. The first two tires that we couldn't talk about were standard touring all season, or two of the tires that we can't talk about are standard touring all season. So premium standard touring all season products coming to the market. One of them that we can't talk about is a grand touring all season product, Three Peak Mountain Snowflake branded. We can say that too. It's an all weather touring product.
Yep.
So that's
which is exciting.
Very exciting from one of the big brands. Yeah. So that's going to be really, really cool. The benchmark competitor for that all-weather Grand Touring all-season tire is the Goodyear Assurance Weather Ready 2. Some people may say, you should include the Cross Climate 2 because, it is kind of the benchmark for the category, but we test that tire to death, to be honest. I feel like I've driven it 100,000 times. And, more importantly, Assurance Weather Ready 2 was the winner of last year's premium touring tire test. Right. So it is coming back to defend. I thought you were going to say something. You just got this blank look on your face.
No,
come back to us.
Yes, it won the test. Yeah. It won it differently by the sum of its parts. Yes, it scored higher. It was different from the Cross Climate 2. So, sure. I get it. I get it why people are saying, hey, I want the Cross Climate 2 because it's the benchmark. It is very strong at many things. But you're right, that Weather Ready 2 won the test because it is a better, a more well-rounded tire.
Right. More balance.
So, it's a target. Mm-hmm. And, let's throw it in there. Let's do it.
Yep. And then the Yokohama Avid Ascend LX. All right, so Yokohama is not traditionally a Tier 1 tire manufacturer. They are right up there, though. They very frequently come out with tires that are, like Tier 1 performance at Tier 2 pricing. Yep. The Avid Ascend LX has tested very well with us in the past, and it's a good benchmark to have to kind of fill out the test. We haven't tested it yet in our new format, so we're going to have data for it. We're going to put it in the giant overall hierarchy, so it's absolutely a part of the conversation. And then for this test, the Defender 2, again, is the control tire, but this time we are going to talk about it because it absolutely is kind of the benchmark in consumers' minds for this standard touring all-season space. So we have the newest and the best in Grand Touring all season. We have the newest and the best in Standard Touring all season, and all of these tires are going to be tested head-to-head. So that is a very exciting test. Test date is a CUV test, and let's just get it out of the way. We use an Alfa Romeo Stelvio as our test vehicle. Earlier, we talked about how we want to use vehicles that are representative of the segment. We want to make sure that that people, when they see our test, they think, "Oh yeah, I drive that."
That's me.
So why did we choose one of the lowest volume products in the space? Well, one is because we do track testing. We drive our vehicles hard, and this is a sport utility vehicle, right? Right. Another is because of the tire size. The tire size fits. Also, though, you watch these videos, you see these things on YouTube and pictures in the test reports, and they're good looking.
Yeah.
I think they're good looking anyway. It is a stylish vehicle.
And they drive well.
There it is. That's the big one. They drive well.
I know you're Mr. Steering Feel, but it's true. I hate to say it, but it's one of the few cars around that still has some feedback in the steering wheel.
Yes, it does.
Which is sad to say, but it's true.
Right.
Yeah.
And when steering is one of the things that we evaluate, it really helps to have a vehicle that, tells you a little bit. And some of these, the Teslas, do not. Some of our test vehicles do not.
But that's the argument we always have. Like, okay, this is one of the last vehicles that has this specific feedback. Most people aren't driving it. Most people have this that really is a little overboosted electronic feeling. So why do we care? We get response out of this camp. We get feel out of this camp. There is definitely a lot of overlap, but the Alpha is nice to hustle around.
It's a good test vehicle. It really is a good test vehicle. So now that that's out of the way, we have multiple categories represented in this test and a lot of tires also. So we have, as we classify it, crossover SUV touring all season, which is kind of the bread and butter, the main group of touring all-season tires.
The grand touring of SUVs.
1,000%. Yes, right. Absolutely. But there's also lots of times size overlap.
There is. Yeah.
And so we actually have a Grand Touring all-season tire in this test too, because if it's available in the size, people aren't going to say, oh, no, I can't have that on my SUV. It's a Grand Touring tire. I need a crossover tire, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not a crossover, sir.
Right, yeah, you can't have that. So there's absolutely carryover, the crossover. I hate saying that word when talking about this test because,
I see what you did
right?
there.
Yeah. So anyway, so there's a Grand Touring all-season tire. There are, as we classify them, street sport truck all-season tires in this test, which is like the UHP all-season of trucks, crossovers, and SUVs.
An underserved market. Probably plenty served, but an underutilized market.
Yes. Yeah, there are enough tires in that space to satisfy the 8 drivers that want them, but we're testing them anyway. That's not true. There are more.
Yeah.
There's like 12 or 15 drivers that want UHPL season tires for their SUV. Anyway, and also the last category that we're testing, on-road all-terrain. Because you know what?
Why not?
Oh, I agree with why not. There's always room for more tires in a test. But a lot of people, a lot of drivers want to put these, kind of smaller, beefy-looking, all-terrain capable tires on their RAV4s, their Subaru Crosstreks, their, all these smaller SUVs. There's a big trend of people putting all-terrain tires on them and using them for overlanding or just using them for the look, driving them for the look, whatever the case is. So if you want to live that life or have that aesthetic, what are you giving up? This seems to be a theme, right? Like what compromises are there?
But that's tires. Tires are compromises. Nothing is free, As technology progresses, yes, we gain more, but there's still always going to be those compromises. Yeah.
Yes, undoubtedly. So let's start with the on-road all-terrain tires that we're testing. The big name in the category, honestly, Falcon Wild Peak AT Trail. It is, I would say, probably the best-selling tire in that space for the small CUVs, SUVs.
Yeah, without looking at it, yeah.
Yeah, right. Probably because it has the biggest size lineup, and then they really, honed in on that market with their advertising, with their marketing campaigns, all that, and so that's what comes to people's mind. But also the BF Goodrich Trail Train TA is another on-road all-terrain tire that we are comparing those two. They will be head-to-head, but they will also be part of the larger group. And along those lines, let's talk about the larger group, or at least the things we can talk about in the larger group. Cooper Endeavor Plus, we tested that back on our Explorers, so 3-ish years ago. Oh, was it Q5? Okay, so it was either tested on the Q5s or the Explorers, so that was a while ago. Falcon Zeek's CT60 AS, same story. It's been a while since we tested that one. Let's see, Hankook Ion Evo AS SUV. All right, so we don't have EV SUV, crossover, truck. We don't have a platform. We don't have a test platform for that. So this is another one of those scenarios where it's, we could either test it on maybe the wrong vehicle. I don't want to say it's the wrong vehicle because there's nothing to say that you can't use an EV-focused tire on your non-EV vehicle, on your internal combustion engine vehicle.
Right.
I mean, what makes a tire a good tire is the same regardless of what kind of vehicle it is. Right.
It works on EVs and it works off EVs.
Yeah, so we might as well test it because we want to know how it performs. And it's going to be on an internal combustion engine vehicle, just the way it goes. Okay. All right. Kumo Krujin HP71 EV K-Silent, another EV tire in this test. So we can compare those two head-to-head and, of course, amongst the larger group as a whole. And this is kind of the crossover version of the Majesty 9 Solus TA91 EV that we just tested on the Teslas, and it performed very well. So I am hopeful that this Krujin also will be a nice, nice upgrade. Compared to the tires. I know, right? They're just coming hard and fast at the market these days. Next, speaking of, Kumo Solus 4S SUV HA32. That tire's car-based counterpart or car-focused counterpart is in Test 2, and we're testing the SUV version in Test 8.
Yeah, that'll be cool to see how they're different, if there's difference. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yep, I agree. I like those.
I didn't just realize that tire was in the test at all. I totally knew it the whole time.
That's fine. He reads our test calendar very regularly, studies it. He loves it. Okay, the first street sport truck all-season tire is the Pirelli Scorpion Zero AS Plus 3 Elect This is another EV tire. It's an an EV focused size amongst a greater line that is not EV focused, which gets really confusing for everybody, including us. The other street sport truck all season tire is the Toyo Proxys ST3. I said it on camera, so it's going to be in the test. Here we go. Huge selling tire. I mean, we made jokes just a minute ago about how there aren't very many people that want these tires. They do. There are a lot of them out there, and this one is kind of the standard bearer for the category. So we're going to find out if it lives up to the reputation. If it, are people just buying this because of the name and the looks, or is there something here? Because we've never driven this tire before. Yep. And then the last, the Grand Touring All Season tire, the one Grand Touring All Season tire, which for all intents and purposes, all crossover SUV touring all season, Grand Touring all season, they're just touring tires. It just happens to be what the size lineup is. The Radar all season GT, which is brand new to our lineup. We're gonna see if it if it stacks up with the existing tire rack hierarchy.
Yeah, we need to know. Customers want to know.
Yep, for sure. So test 9, it's Tacoma test. We're a little apprehensive to talk about it because we don't want to overpromise, but we do want to build excitement and let our viewers, our consumers, our shoppers, our drivers know we are developing an off-road testing protocol at an off-site location, a test track that we have access to. We're going to run every all-terrain tire that we test during the regular season. So that would have been test 6, I think. Yeah, test 6. All of those products we then intend to put through off-road testing as well. Much like we do winter testing for all the all-season tires that we test during the year, much like we do track testing for the performance tires that we test here, we want to have an off-road component to every one of our all-terrain tires.
We want the entire picture.
Yes, of everything.
That's a big part of it.
It is, and that has been a complaint that even we have, a concern that even we have with testing all-terrain or maximum traction tires here at our facility. Because yes, most of those types of tires are going to spend most of their lives on the road, let's be honest. So it is very important how they perform on road, in the wet and in the dry. Absolutely. Even if you're not using your tires off-road, your all-terrain tires off-road, it's still part of the picture, the image, the reason that you buy them is...
People want to know, what is this tire actually capable of? Like you said, that goes for performance, extreme performance tires or max performance tires. Like, well, what can this thing actually do if I was trying hard? Same with all-terrain. Like, is this better off-road than this one? That may be a tiebreaker for a lot of people, or it may be the main thing that they want out of their tire. Yeah. But it turns out off-road testing is extraordinarily difficult to get repeatable, accurate results.
Yes. And it's incredibly expensive to move Earth around to make it happen. So there are absolutely difficulties in doing it, but true to the tire rack way, if we're going to do it, we want to make sure we do it right. We don't want to just get numbers that don't mean anything, that aren't accurate. So we want to make sure that it's, like you said, it's repeatable, it's real world. We have a few criteria in mind. If we're going to talk about it, we might as well talk about it. We have a few criteria in mind. We are not looking at slick rock vertical climbing. We're not looking at axle deep mud traction. We are trying to make this as real world as possible. And these things may change because, like we said, we're still in development, but our goals are to have a chip and tear durability test.
A common theme if you live on gravel roads or any kind of sharp rock, out west, mountain roads, fire roads, all that stuff.
Yep. In addition to chip and tear durability, we want a sidewall puncture durability test because everybody knows if you're out on the trail, out in the middle of nowhere, last thing you want is a blown sidewall.
Rub up on something.
So those two things are very important, very real world. Light mud traction. So again, not axle deep, but definitely
challenging
mud
conditions. Not Burning Man 2023.
Although I bet the people that were there wish they had some tire rack off-road testing beforehand. But
more realistic, more pedestrian. I'm off-roading, tailgating at a game. It starts to pour rain. I'm not going to be that 2500 that's stuck in grass.
Or
I'm not
are
going to
you
be
going
that
to
guy.
be?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that type of stuff.
Right.
Like you said, not axle deep, hopping your way out of soup.
Right. Yes. And lastly, is wet grass on an incline wet grass, because reading our consumer surveys, it seems that there is nothing that makes truck and SUV owners madder than getting stuck in grass. It was level grass, and I couldn't get out because I just spun. So,
but it's tough. It's a slick condition. Yeah,
it is. Yep. So we want to make sure that people know if their tires are going to be able to handle that.
We're working on it.
Yeah. So
we can see it this year. Hopefully.
Yep. Hopefully.
We want to do it right.
Mm-hmm, undoubtedly. Test 10.
Test 10.
I'm really excited about this test. This is, let's be honest, the EP test is my favorite test of the year, but this is my second most exciting test of the year.
Way to play favorites.
Yeah, I know, right? Answering questions. I love answering questions. We love getting to the bottom of things, getting past the conjecture and the tribal knowledge and all that kind of nonsense, and actually getting real hard data on things. And it's all weather versus winter.
Yep.
What is the actual performance delta between products in those two segments?
Right.
If you've been watching this entire video, you may know that we are winter tire advocates. That's what we run on our vehicles during the cold months. We're in the Midwest. We get a lot of snow. We get ice. We get nasty conditions. And a true winter tire is the best.
Yeah.
The best tool.
We're not going to scoop the test. It's going to be the best in the winter.
Right.
But by how much?
By how much?
Yeah,
yes,
right.
Absolutely. We just had this conversation just the other day. Like, I think I'm just going to get a set of all-weather tires because our winters have been milder and yada, yada, yada. But during every winter, I have icy patches on my regular route to and from work. I have days where the plows haven't gotten out yet and the snow is, knee deep and I still have to get to work. It is a real thing. So maybe based on the results, you might decide that for your use case, an all-weather is good enough. Or maybe it's, hey, there's a big enough difference that you probably should be using a dedicated winter tire, but we're going to find out. So we have several new products in this test, none of which we can talk about, I'm seeing right now, which is fun. But we are running a kind of a family winter versus all-weather competition here. Firestone Winter Force 2, which is a studdable winter tire.
Yep.
We don't know how big of a difference there is going to be between the Winter Force 2 and its all-weather counterpart, the Weather Grip.
Especially those two.
Because Weather Grip is such a strong all-weather tire for snow and ice conditions that I don't know what the difference is going to be, but it's going to be fun. The General Ultimax Arctic 12, it doesn't have an all-weather partner, but again, we are creating this
one of our best
hierarchy.
Studdable winter tires.
We need to have the performance.
We're not going to test
data
them
on that.
studded.
Right. Yeah, we won't stud any of these. They will be unstudded, studdable tires.
We've done that.
Yes.
But.
Yeah. Okay, Cross Climate 2. Yay, we have Cross Climate 2 in a test this year. Another Cross Climate 2 in a test versus Michelin Excise Snow. We're going to see what the disparity is between those, and also the Vredestein Quatrack versus the Vredestein Wintrack Pro Plus. So, like I said, there are other tires in the test that we can't talk about, new, exciting products, but those are the ones that we can, and it's going to be family versus family, and also in the greater scheme of things, how do these things perform? And it's not just going to be snow and ice. We're going to test them in cold conditions because that's where you're supposed to use winter tires. We're going to test on the road, wet, dry, and then also ice and snow.
So it's going to be much later in the season. Yeah,
for sure. But it's a fun one. I'm excited about it. And speaking of excited, we are very, very excited for this test calendar. We are very excited for the testing program in general. We love what we do. We love testing. We love getting to the bottom of things. We love dispelling myths and cutting through all of the marketing nonsense.
And it's a huge part of what Tire Rack is. It's what attracted both of us, if I can speak for him.
You can. You may.
To the company. We are humbled to be a part of the process, a part of this department, and like you said, we love doing it.
We are continuing what people who are greater than us built, and we are fortunate to be doing that. And we also feel fortunate to have all y'all along for the ride with us. So we hope you're excited for the test calendar. I guess we should sign off with, as always, thanks for watching.